Hello, testing. Okay.
Test 1, 2.
All right. Okay, at this time, I would like to call the meeting of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee to order at 7:01 on Thursday, September 8th, 2022. And I will begin the meeting by asking you, or inviting you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to ask you, Mr. Tracy, does it look like we have anyone joining us on Zoom?
As of now, no.
Okay. I am going to open for citizens' comments, but I'm suspecting there are no citizens' comments in the room.
Point of information, Dana. Do you need to tell everyone the meeting's being recorded?
I do, thank you. So this meeting is being recorded, and it is also being live streamed on HWCam on YouTube. Okay, let's give it a couple of seconds. But I think that the community is aware. We usually start pretty promptly, so. Okay. Seeing no one looking like they're ready for citizens' comments, I'm going to move forward on the agenda and we'll close down the Zoom. Okay, next up, Julia, would you read the school committee protocols, please?
As elected members of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee, we, including the superintendent, accept the high honor and trust that has been placed in us to ensure that the students of the district receive the best education possible. To that end, we hereby commit to the following in the conduct of our business. Protocol 2. The superintendent and the school committee represent the needs and interests of all students in the district and place the students' interests above all others in their decisions while remaining within the limitations of a voter-approved budget.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the consent agenda. Does anyone have any items from the consent agenda that they'd like to hold?
I'd like to hold both parts of C.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Amy, would you be willing to make a motion, please?
I move that the Hamilton Wenham...
Hold on a second.
Sorry, I just realized the number on the B Football Boosters Fund half coach, 0.5 coach should be $23,908.50.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to just hold that one?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so the football booster, 0.5 coach, we're going to hold.
Okay.
Okay.
I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee accept the consent agenda with the exception of B, donations, football booster section, and, Anna, can you remind me? C, other. Thank you.
Do we have second by Jen Carr? All right. All those in favor? That is unanimous of the 5 members present. We'll start with, I guess we'll start with the first one, which is the football booster funded 0.5 coach. Eric, I think you held that.
Yes, thank you for whoever held that on my behalf. I have a note, there was a miscommunication on the actual coach cost. It's $2,398.50, not $2,094.50. The actual number, just so everybody knows, is $2,398.50 that would be funded by the boosters. And it's the same every year. It's just,
It's in the exhibit.
it changes in the contract, but someone just wrote it incorrectly. on
Okay,
the-
so it just appears that that is actually correctly identified in the exhibit, but it's not correct on the agenda. So the exhibit is correct. Okay.
Great.
All right, Amy, can you make a motion?
I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee accept section B with the correction of changing $2,094.50 to $2,398.50.
Second?
Second by Anna Seizik. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? And the motion passes 5-0 of a unanimous vote of those members present. Anna, you had held 2 exhibits, the fall football booster ad book and the volleyball ad book.
Yes, thank you. I don't have any issue with either of the ad book premises. I just want to note that in years past, when we've approved this, we've been very explicit that the content of the advertising is subject to the approval of the superintendent or Mr. Genualdo, and that particular line is just missing this year. The exhibits are pretty thin, so I just want to make sure that we're approving this with the understanding that there will be some oversight, even though it's not stated in the exhibit.
Yeah,
Yep.
I actually have the physical, they sent them to me first, so.
Fantastic. You've already done it before we even approved it.
But in the future, it's a good note for the future to be able to say, it's got to be approved by the superintendent before it's released.
Yeah. And I think, right, it would have been just helpful to have that, just that language in the exhibit.
Yep.
That would have been helpful.
Yep.
Okay.
Can we move to amend the exhibits? Or just future going forward? we'll do
I
it?
think, yeah, I think we've
Set the
given that
parameters.
feedback to the superintendent, I think. That's my thought, but you could always have a motion if you wanted to.
I'm fine with that.
All right, did we make a motion yet? I don't think you did.
Not about that,
Okay, can
no.
you,
Yeah, are we moving to approve or just add the language that they have already been reviewed and approved?
oh, well, you
Or-
can make the motion however you choose. I was looking for a
Recommendation.
motion just to approve the 2 things that are on the exhibit, but if you'd like to amend it, you certainly
Okay,
can.
no, that's fine. I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee approve Section C under consent agenda.
Second?
All right, second by Anna Seizik. Is there any further discussion?
Nope.
Okay, all those in favor? All right, and the motion passes 5-0, 5-0 of the members who are present. Okay. We're moving along so quickly, I can't keep up. Okay. All right.
Can I request to skip the first? We're waiting for one person.
Absolutely, yes. I see that we have some members of the Hamilton Wenham Athletic Facilities Improvement Committee, members who I'm sure are shocked to hear that we are ahead of schedule.
Like, where was that when I was on
I
here?
know. Sorry, Michelle.
I actually would ask the committee if we're comfortable, and if policy is comfortable, I'd like to actually skip to C, renewal vote for concussion policy, if that works for the group.
Yes.
Okay,
Do you want me to talk about it?
please.
Okay. At the request of the superintendent and the athletic director, we did our biannual review of the concussion policy procedures, and the only minor changes are we've brought it into alignment with the MASC naming convention. So what used to be H8029 is now JJIF. It's part of the J section. And then the second part of the exhibit is sort of the procedural part of it. Again, there's actually not really been a substantive change here, but coding-wise, this becomes JJIF-R. Here, we did pick up some minor typos, which are noted in the red line that you can see. So if you look at the overall Roman numerals, we had a 1, and then we had a second number 1. So we've corrected that to go 1, 2, just like it normally should. Similarly, back into the practice of reminding ourselves of kindergarten in section 4, we discovered that we had a 4A and then a 4A again. We really liked 4A, so we have corrected it to read A, B, C, D, E, and F. Very minor changes, and we updated the date at the bottom to say that the next review will be September 2024, and those are the only substantive changes. It came out of policy with a unanimous vote.
Okay. I think before we start discussion, it would be helpful to have a motion on the table. Can you make a motion?
Sure. I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee approve the concussion policy as stated in the exhibits in the agenda.
Second.
Second by Julia Campbell. All right, is there discussion? Jen?
Never mind, I found it.
Okay. Anyone else? I have a brief, so and I actually mentioned this to Eric in my meeting with him, and I do understand, but I was questioning why much of this is a procedure, which is typically not, my understanding, I'm not on the policy committee, but my understanding is we typically try to avoid procedure. My understanding from Eric, I mean, I feel like I've already answered this question, but I just wanted to bring it out there, that this is required by law to have this procedure in our, is that correct?
In our handbooks.
In the
Yeah. That's my understanding also, and I will say, we're finding it, I'll give you a brief preview of sorts. We are finding in the new MASC guidance that there are some sections that sort of have broken out a higher level statement, and then it becomes a little bit procedural with the -R. So you're not wrong to say that it feels a little bit that way, but the MASC versions are starting to have some of that, but this one actually has always had it. I just don't think it was called out in the same way that the tree is now calling it correctly.
All right, anything else? Okay. All right, looks like we're ready for a vote. All those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous, and the motion passes unanimous of the 5 members who are present, and the motion passes. Okay. Eric, would you be willing to put that up on the board, the school committee mission statement?
This one here?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the next item is a draft. This is, if you all recall, when we were at the workshop this summer, we worked on some school committee goals. And then we brought it, at our most recent meeting, we brought it as a draft just for basic feedback. I didn't get a lot of feedback after the meeting. The feedback you'll see if you look at this, you'll see I made I did title it a mission statement. I'm not, this is still, I prominently has the word draft. My hope is that we could look at this, and if we feel comfortable with it, we could vote to approve it. We could also amend if anyone has anything that they want to do today. So maybe we'll start with a motion.
Sure, I move that the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee accept the 22-23 school committee mission statement.
Second?
Second by Anna Seizik. All right, is there discussion?
Can we take out
Jen.
the commas and put in periods? Otherwise, that's an extremely long run-on sentence.
Oh, you mean between each
At
bullet?
the end of each one?
Yes, at the end of each one. And get rid of the
Yeah, it
and
is.
Yes,
at the end of the fourth one.
and get rid of what?
The and at the end of the fourth one. Like, just do
Yeah,
5
just do
statements.
5
Bam, bam,
bullet.
bam.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we should not put periods. I don't think we should put any punctuation, though, because then you have to start over with a district that,
right, each one is, right,
which should end without punctuation.
Yeah.
because I,
If we don't put periods in, that's fine, but I don't want the
Don't want
commas
commas.
there
I
indicating
support
it's like
that.
one statement.
okay.
The content, we love.
Oh, I love it, and I just want to say that I think if there's any question about the school committee leading and inspiring a district to adopt a budget, I think that's the 3rd bullet, because that was my only question, was where does sort of the budget fit in? But I think supports and guides the superintendent, I think that's answered in the 3rd bullet for me.
Okay.
So it checks all my boxes.
Okay. Anna?
I want to go just make sure I'm understanding what Jen is advocating, because if you take out all the punctuation, then it's literally just a run-on sentence.
I think she just means at the end of
At the end of each one, so that you would basically read it as the
Oh,
Hamilton-Wenham
just,
Regional
so
School
it's still
Committee will
bullet
lead-
points, sans
Bullet
commas.
points, right, each one,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
All right,
Eric,
I
yeah,
can
if
agree
you're
to
in it,
that.
you
I
could-
can agree
End of
to that.
professionalism.
At the end of professionalism, at the end of operations, there would be, right, so that each one is a sentence.
All right. I'll go along with you, just this once. I also want to credit Dana for wordsmithing out the double use of serves, in the
Oh,
fifth
yes,
bullet.
I did insert the word "is" there.
Some proofreaders.
Yes.
We're all
How do we feel about the word mission statement?
Love it.
I think it's
I
great.
know that the task that we set out for ourselves was to set up goals. I just want to say to the group, I think I said it at the workshop, but we as a committee came from a place of some struggle, and I see this as a first step, and that I'm excited to see what next year's goals might bring, and they might be different than this. They might be more sort of concrete, but I felt excited about being able to do that in a very reasonably timely manner, so.
Yeah, I agree. I feel strongly that our goals are kind of set up for us as to what, our 3 areas of focus are. And then also the district goals are our goals. So I feel like this just supports that. I love it.
It's like the North Star for us.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I said this in the last meeting too, I feel like if we have separate goals, apart from the district goals, I mean, our only purpose is to support the district goals and support the superintendent. We have some functions that we do, but we don't need to be creating new work for ourselves that's not directly related to what we've already agreed. So I like it, and I think mission statement is the right verse, because I think it was Mr. Frankel who, in the prior meeting, noted, there really aren't measurable goals. It's not quite the right terminology, so.
Right, and
Dana,
that's-
I think
yeah.
you knocked it out of the park. I think
Okay.
it's amazing.
All right, nice work, everyone. All right, so it sounds like we need to vote. You ready?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor? All right, and the motion passes 5-0 of the members present.
Do we have to make a pretty copy without the word draft on it?
Well, I don't think we're going to, unless the committee, I always am at the will of the committee, but I got the feedback that we might not need the giant poster anymore.
We'll have another one made.
We could.
It's for you.
We could.
I'm going to.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I did
We
like
could
it.
maybe consider reading them like we're reading the protocols. So maybe interspersing them, like every other meeting, we read one of
Absolutely,
the
I-
mission statements other than a protocol.
I like that.
I think that's a good idea, yeah.
So we always keep them to
Let the
Right.
the
kids-
forefront, just like the protocols, but
Right, that we
they're,
could,
yeah.
okay, I'll take that as some advice and see.
I would like stickers and a water bottle, please.
Yes.
Also,
I actually really had an idea where I sort of thought I was going to do a laminated with the district goals on one side and our mission statement on the other
I'll help you
side.
make that.
like a cheat sheet. We could
But
just,
then I got caught up in maybe portrait of a graduate on the other side, so I don't know. We'll see. Okay,
Now it'd have to be 3 sides.
I know, and that's
Three
too
sides.
much. That's
That's
too much.
3-sided
So,
paper.
but, all right. All right.
You have everybody here.
Yes,
from one
okay.
To there.
All right. Everybody's just too quick for me. Okay. All right, Hamilton Wenham Athletic Facilities Improvement. Are you guys ready? Okay. So we're going to be up at new business number A, or letter A. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for putting us on the agenda and allowing us to give you an update on what we've been doing since we presented to you in June. You may know that over the summer, Tim and Peter presented to the Board of Selectmen the presentation we gave to you. It was, I think, overwhelmingly well-received, which was great. They had some questions which we are taking back to our full committee on Monday. And throughout the summer, various members of the group have been meeting with local governing board informally, just to get the information out there, because as we said in June, that it's really important for people to have the information and not be blindsided and know that this information and project is happening, which is great. After your overwhelming support of the program in June, we realized that, I call it the OG, the Hamilton Wenham Athletic Facilities Improvement Committee, the original group, we needed to expand to really meet our goal of bringing this project to fruition. So we have created subcommittees, a marketing, communication, fundraising, and a building committee. So over the summer, we populated the marketing, communication, and fundraising with people in our community, talented, energetic, a lot of young people that, you know, are way out of our, Tim's quasi, he's, yeah. Both feet in both areas, but Peter and I have moved on. But it's been a great chance for us to see this new group of people coming up, and the energy is really outstanding. We are working with Eric to create a building committee, and that will be comprised of district staff as well as people from the community. So there's a huge momentum to get this project moving, and our goal is to really make sure that the education and the information is available for the special town meeting in October and the all-town meeting in April. So we're working really hard. We've been working all summer long. We haven't taken our foot off the gas, and we have multiple meetings coming up soon. So, but Tim and Pete will talk to you. Peter will talk to you about some other, more of the fundraising subcommittee.
Good evening. Sometime last spring, it came to our attention that there might not be a clear naming policy within the district, and I think we've always felt the need, if we're going to fundraise successfully, that there would be a need for us to be able to offer sponsors and contributors the opportunity to name an element of the facility. And so what I think you should have had an opportunity to review is what we crafted as a potential policy for you to adopt that would provide us with clear direction as we begin to approach donors. And if you'd like, I'm happy to walk you through it quickly, or maybe you've all had a chance to read it carefully, but I can give you a quick overview if you'd like.
I know I've read it. I don't know, do people feel like?
I've read it, but
Yeah.
I think a quick overview would make sense.
All
for
right.
the record.
I hear some interest in a quick overview.
Overview, okay. So I think why do we need this policy? You know, it's our understanding that there isn't a clear policy that would authorize us to do this or authorize us to act on your behalf until you have a chance to, there is approval rights of everything back to this committee. So I think all we're doing is giving us the direction we need to be able to go out and make sure that what we're offering to people, that it's going to be acceptable to you folks. We also think that naming is going to be a critical component of the fundraising effort. So what the policy says is that naming for individuals and corporations will be permitted upon a substantial contribution to the Athletic Facility Improvement Committee. The name of the donor or the benefactor must convey character and integrity, and there should be no conflict of interest. The policy provides for the potential future removal of a name under certain, I would hope, extreme circumstances. I think it's sort of remarkable. I think half the document is probably spent talking about integrity and character and renaming, which is unfortunate, but I think it's fine to have it in there. Our presumption is that the name would be attached to the facility for the life of the facility. There may be opportunities for term-limited sponsorships where it would be, the Tim Fazio Field for just 10 years, but I think that's probably less likely, but we've left open that possibility. We think that there are 6 or 7 major elements of the field, or excuse me, of the facility that might get named. The stadium complex itself, the field, the track, the baseball field, the softball field, the tennis court. So those are sort of the major elements, but there are other smaller elements such as, lights and outbuildings and concession stands and things like that, where there are other naming opportunities, whether it's a plaque or whether it's, the something stands, but our focus, the real focus will be on those first 6 or 7. And then there may be smaller opportunities like buy a brick and have your name engraved on it, things like that. The way we expect to go about this is we would craft a price guide, and it would have a range of pricing. That scoreboard we need to try and find out that scoreboards are worth, from X dollars to Y dollars based on some other communities that have done similar things. And we set that price guide, and if it happens to be 10 to 15,000, and all we can get is 8, we'll come back to you and say, all we can get is 8, you okay with us, selling the naming rights to Mr. Fazio? If it's for 12, we're going to feel confident that it's within the price range that we've all agreed to, and that we can go forward. But again, the memorandum of understanding between the benefactor and the committee comes back to this committee for approval. Signage and branding are realities that we're going to have to deal with, likely on a case-by-case basis. We will encourage branding that fits with the school and the complex scheme, design scheme, but if it needs to be more sponsor-specific, the school committee would have the right to review and approve. So that's sort of the policy, and behind it is the agreement that we would transact with the benefactor or the donor, and it simply identifies who the parties are, what the element being named is, and what's being paid for that naming. It describes the signage policy, and it reserves certain rights to the school committee regarding rescission of a name in the future if something bad happens. So that's the package. Happy to, either of us are happy to answer questions or be more specific.
Great, thank you for that. Maybe we can start with questions. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Eric, before we, want me to ask, we can ask questions first?
Yeah, but I'd like to take a moment to thank these three individuals for
Absolutely.
the work they've done. I've been kind of on the side, working in and out of the group, and they've been pushing and out in the community and putting together documents like this, really keeping this moving forward. So I think it's important for us to know that they're working hard on behalf of the school district and the kids in the district. So thank you, all three of you, and the other members of the committee as well.
Yeah, and just on a sort of a specific note, I think, as you explained at the beginning, it's a really positive step forward that you've split into the two functioning subcommittees. Marketing, communication, and fundraising is all one thing, right?
There's three, so marketing, communications.
I was going to say, because I thought there were two, so.
And the reason why we did that is to avoid any conflict of interest with district employees.
And I think that I think it's a really positive step forward to have the fundraising as a separate, and that's a step forward, so thank you for that.
Just as if I can add, this really, it is a school project, but it is a community project also. And speaking with some people in our community, we really feel that this could be a real key to bringing us back to what we could be, what we were and what we could be. So this is, although it is a school project, it is a community all-in effort, so.
Well, I'm going to just jump right in and say, Michelle and I are friends, so I can say this. I'm going to say, politely disagree and say it's not going to bring us back to where we were. It's going to bring us to somewhere better in the future.
Thank you, excellent.
Okay, so I want the committee to have the opportunity to ask questions. I also sort of want to ask you, ultimately, what is it that you're going to need from us in the long term on the naming specifically? I can tell that you've done a tremendous amount of work on this, and there's a lot here for us to think about. So maybe we'll just start with questions from the committee, and then we can, Amy, did you have something?
I do have a question. First, just to echo everybody else, I really appreciate all the thought that's gone into this. I feel like a lot of questions have already been answered. This is such a great document. I have questions about branding. I think that in order to keep these facilities looking professional and beautiful, branding is important. Does the district have a brand guide? Okay.
There's no Polito when we need him.
Right, this
Well-
is, yeah.
And then I guess I would just say, so this committee potentially would be in charge of approving signage, et cetera? Is that what we're saying?
Upon recommendation of my office, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something we could take on as well, and I agree, I think it's got to look professional, and you don't want 17 different styles and fonts all around. It will start to look messy, if you will.
It
but-
will.
Yeah, but we can take care of those things.
Okay.
Those are really district procedural things that we can put into place and just get some agreement on.
Yeah, that would just be my recommendation, but this is set up so well to like feed into that.
Okay. Jen?
I'd like to preface this that I think this is a great idea. My only concern is that it's putting us on a slippery slope, because every single year, we've told football and baseball and all these sports that they can only have up signage during the game. So, I mean, I think we just need to consider how we're going to change the policy and make sure that it's universally enforced going
And,
forward.
right, and we can, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, it's an understandable, there are, I mean, the naming, these are naming rights, right, which is, potentially one could make an argument that they're different than,
It's still a form of
advertisements.
advertising, though.
We have
I understand,
precedents,
yep.
too, keep in mind, we have
We do.
precedents. We do have our press box is named for a family.
Okay, I didn't realize
Yeah,
that.
Already,
And then
yeah.
our track is named for Coach Sawyer. So there's precedents already in the district, so
Okay.
it's something to consider, though, really, like, what does that look like, and where do we finally draw our line?
Yeah.
Right.
Because then it becomes, like the Sunday
Exactly.
Funnies.
right, right, and I think it's like a lot of things, right, it's not as cut and dry as one,
Yeah, it's just something we
Yeah.
should keep in mind.
Anna?
So I have a couple questions, a couple observations, also a couple suggestions for paths forward. But I want to start by saying thank you also for the amount of work that has moved this forward. And I concur with everyone. High level in my mind from the moment we've talked about this improvement project, I knew this question would come up. And so fundamentally, in my opinion, this has to happen, and it has to happen this way. And I don't think it works any other way. So that sort of high level approval, I think the couple things that jumped out to me were that before we move forward, I would really like to have our legal counsel take a look at it and sort of put it into a slightly more legalese form. That's one thought. The other thought, and again, Michelle is going to love this comment, I'm looking at the policies, and I think kind of to what Jen was saying, we're in the middle of reviewing the D section. I'm going to blame Vinny for it because the auditor said you need to go back and do D. So we're actually right in the middle of doing the D section review. So I guess my policy chair brain says that whatever document this becomes is sort of a form of a policy, and maybe this is like an original Hamilton Wenham specific policy, but I want to make sure that when we're doing the review, we're not inadvertently creating conflicts with the policies we're already reviewing. So and it's in my mind, and we're right in the middle of it. It could even be by the time the full committee meets again, we've gotten through that, because we're just chomping right through them. So I think structurally, to me, I feel like this needs some review, perhaps even by the policy subcommittee with members of your committee in attendance. Michelle can come back to policy if she really wants to. But also then once we kind of get to a point where the policy committee likes it, I want to make sure sort of legal has a chance to look at it. So for me, that's the path forward, is to bring it into alignment. But high level, I don't have any issues with it. I have some minor questions about how we're naming things and consistencies. The one real question I have is in the MOU, you're talking about how the gift will be a donation. It says it shall be considered a donation to the Hamilton Wenham Athletic Facility Improvement Committee to be used, but the signatories would be the district. And the actual MGL cited says clearly the gift can go to the district. So I just want to clarify, the gift itself is still to the district because the committee is a subcommittee of the district, and that is not to be confused with any separate nonprofit that's been formed to help in this endeavor. The actual contract would be with the district, subject to the oversight of all the things we're talking about, and the money received would be a gift to the district, right?
So I think you raised a fair point and a detail we may have overlooked.
We can hear you, but I'm not sure the people at home can.
Sorry. So I think you raise a detail that we may have not worked out all the mechanics on, but the the understanding from the beginning is that the nonprofit would hold the gifts until such time as the project was approved and ready to proceed, at which point it would turn the gifts over. So what we may, but I do think that you're right, that this should be a gift, it seems like it's all set up to be a gift to the district, but perhaps it's held by the nonprofit until it's turned over.
So this is where I'd love to get counsel. I mean, maybe we either need to add the nonprofit, if they're sort of the fiscal agent temporarily, do they become a party to this contract, or does there need to be a separate contract signed that makes explicit any donations received by said nonprofit? Not that I expect them would ever go otherwise, because I agree we've always been on the same page on this, but legally, I just feel like we need to be a little tighter with who is the money being given to, who's entering into the contract.
I'm actually
For
going to...
tax purposes.
Yeah,
for
I'm
the
actually going
donor.
to interrupt Anna to bring up a point that actually Anna made at an earlier point, which is, or to me, I guess you made the...
Well, I was going to make
which-
that point next, though.
Oh,
Go
okay,
ahead.
go ahead. No, but I think you were leading up, maybe you were leading up to
I
it.
was,
Okay,
but I
well-
want to hear it now. I'm
No,
curious to hear how
well,
you
that
phrase it.
this is actually not unlike what happens with the Ed Fund, that the Ed Fund receives funds, then the Ed Fund makes a donation to the school committee, and that donation is then voted on and approved by the school committee. So in other words, they are bringing it to us, the gift is coming from the Ed Fund, right? Is it similar? I'm just making sure that we, in a similar way that when it was transferred from the HWAFIC, it would be coming to the district. Does that make sense? Am I?
Well, I think, it's not exactly what I meant, but.
Okay, go ahead.
When we talked about it, because Dana and I did talk about that a little, I think conceptually, what I like about all of this is that it is similar to the Ed Fund in theory, right? There's a subgroup within the community that's a mixed group that's seeking donations, that has ideas, and they bring them forward. So when those Ed Fund grants come here, they're pretty much ready-baked. And I think, Peter, you said it really well. The likelihood that we would deny something that the Ed Fund has worked with the superintendent or teachers or students to put together, I don't know if it's ever actually happened. Maybe Michelle knows. But it's almost like they're still subject to approval, and if there was something the committee didn't like, we'd always have the chance to say, oh, I don't like this element of it. But fundamentally, it's sort of already put together. So that part is what I mean by saying, and Sarah, I think
No,
this to me is really truly a legal question, because even in that scenario, which it's a little different because the Ed Fund is getting money from its donors or from other places, and the money, the check being written is coming from the Ed Fund to the district. Those are clearly the two parties. In this scenario, the agreement being proposed is an agreement between the district and a benefactor. So I feel like we just need to iron out who's signing the agreement. And I don't think this is not a tonight question. I'm just saying this is why I want to send it to policy and send it to council and
Yep.
figure out how mechanically we make it legal for everybody.
Yeah.
They're all looking at me because I'm a lawyer, and so my legal advice is that you're absolutely right. You should get legal advice, and have your lawyer just
Yeah.
button it all up, because I think everybody seems to be on the same page and
Right.
asking the right questions about
Yeah.
just how to tie it up nicely.
Right,
but yeah.
and thank you for that, because I think that is exactly, right, we are all trying to reach the same goal and do it in a legal way, mainly so that when and if the people in the room change, that this is an agreement that goes on, I know Eric wants, you have something.
Yeah, and Dana, also for the donor, so if the donor would like a tax rebate or would like to include it in their philanthropic giving, if it's made to the district, it can't count because we're not a 501c3, so, that's,
That was sort of what I was getting at, is that, a nonprofit can donate to anyone else could do that. But if especially if we're going for a big fish, right? Let's say we're going after that $5 million donor. No offense, Mr. Fazio, but I think $8,000 will not cut it. I think.
they're going to want some tax write-offs.
So that's what I'm thinking too, is that if we're going to go for a big fish that wants to pay for it out of its philanthropic coffers, they're going to want to be able to write that off in some way. that might have to be a donation to the third-party nonprofit, a la the Ed Fund, and then that nonprofit can very well decide to give it to the district as is intended. I think that all is fine. I think it just has to be spelled out, and then contractually, maybe all those parties do that, or maybe there's a separate contract that says, all funds received. That's my point, is we need to clarify that part, especially as it pertains, Peter, to the menu that you were talking. And I know from my limited fundraising background, like that menu is going to be the basis for all of this, to have clarity for both the outreach and the receiving. What is this money getting you? And I think we just need to be very clear about, if you give $2 million, who you're giving it to, what are the tax benefits to the donor, to the district, to this other group? And that's where I think just sending it through, not Mr. Fazio Council, although maybe you should be there too. But I do think all of that can be worked out in the contract, and then I think the framework of the guidelines should be worked out maybe in policy, so we all feel good about it. But high level, this is amazing work, and
Okay.
I see no problems with it conceptually.
Okay. Eric, I know did you want to jump in? Yep.
Yes. I did run this by Mark Terry. I gave him 4 hours to look at it or something like that. I said, I'm going to call you at this time. But he was great. He went through it and gave me kind of his cursory first opinions, but also said, similar to what's being said here tonight, like there are details you want to iron out. That nexus between fundraising, donating, naming, and our policies is messy. And he said he said, you just need to come to some agreements, and then his group basically would work out the details. And it's one of those things where even when he read this, he says, "Who wrote this? It's pretty impressive." So he was congratulatory of that, but he admitted himself. He said, "I don't have a strong background in this." Oddly, they are working with another group on a similar project, so he was gonna check in with one of his secondary attorneys, and I think we should take it back to them and just kind of give them, okay, here's a sample scenario, because the easy part is the donation to their nonprofit and their donation to the committee. That's a standard practice. That's the easy part. It's that other nexus of where the other 3 things cross, and I think that's where he was saying we want to clean it up, because he said first glance, he goes, and I hate to go down this road, but go back to the flag policy conversation. There are First Amendment issues that can come up if you're not very specific. And again, it goes back to the committee has the ability to make those decisions. We just have to be very specific of how that happens, so that you can manage, a group that suddenly says that, hey, we raised $5,000 and we want this to be named something,
Right.
whatever,
Something that we're not necessarily
something that
comfortable
we
with.
wouldn't all agree with. It doesn't align with our values, and we want to be able to have that ability. So he suggested we bring this back, give them more time to just figure out how to iron that, and then maybe we can come up with a couple of different scenarios to be able to say, okay, what if this happens, then we can do this. And he ultimately said the best thing to do would be when you get a benefactor who's agreeing, you get a written agreement, they might have an agreement with a benefactor, then we would actually negotiate an MOU individually between the district and the benefactor, taking them out of the loop. So that was just his initial read.
Well, to me, that's sort of what this document is actually trying to do, is this agreement is the provisos of the advertising itself. I agree with you. So it's almost like the donation, the gift pledge, if you will, could say, this gift is accepted happily with joy, subject to the separate terms of the MOU between the benefactor and the district. So it could be almost a conditional gift that if for some reason the parties on this side can't agree, then there's sort of not exactly a trapdoor, but you could make a conditional gift provision in your receiving documents.
Do we, and I mean collectively, all of us, what do we see as it sounds to me like we want to bring this to our legal counsel, but how do we do this in a way so that it feels to me like in some ways we need to have information from both groups speaking with the legal counsel to make sure that everyone is understood. So how do we go about that? Like, what is the best?
I can coordinate, I'll coordinate that.
Well, and
Because I guess that what I don't want to have happen is to have our legal counsel looking at it only with, and not getting an understanding from the fundraising end of things of what it is that you're
Yeah, that's what,
seeing as necessary, yeah.
well, and then,
basically
Yeah.
what Mark was suggesting.
Yeah.
yeah, and then I still think, and maybe this happens after everyone sort of gets to it, I don't know, it's either before, during, or after, obviously, those are our choices. That at some point, I do think we just need to bring it into alignment with policy so that we're not, again, does this morph to become part of the new policies that are in the process of revision? Or do we actually create a new policy on naming rights, or just, so, and I don't know if that alignment happens after we've come to sort of more of a legal consensus, or if you would like guidance on that first, but I also feel like I don't want to spend time on policy subcommittee looking at something that's not maybe closer to the final version, because it seems like, then you get too much feedback. So I could defer to maybe later, within the next
So-
couple meetings doing that.
Well, I think that all brings up, a question for you all about timing. Like when, what's your vision for timing?
Yeah, I think we feel pressured to
Okay.
move this along. We got a very aggressive schedule that, we don't need this tomorrow, but at the same time, if we're going to keep to the schedule we've suggested we'd like, we need it in the next month.
Okay, so, all right. That's helpful, thank you.
Okay.
So then that's, makes clear what my work would be to figure out how to get this, right?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
So
coordinate.
we're discussing it in the next, in the next,
Yeah. Well, and I can offer, the policy subcommittee next meeting is September 19th, which is soon, right? That's sort of within the window. So what we can do when we set that agenda is to make sure that we hit those 3 policies and any other policies that are part of the review. And maybe, now that we've had this conversation in mind, we can look at those with the idea of saying, like, we know this document is out there and this is relatively close to form. Is there something that's a problem? So then after the 19th, we could at least give some preliminary feedback to the parties to say, this is what the new policy is looking at. And we can also change it and look at it. So I would love to have any one of your group want to join us for policy subcommittee. Michelle Horgan, I know you want to, to do that. But we can prioritize this set of policies at the front of that meeting unless the committee objects or anyone else objects. And then that way we'll get you some feedback after September 19th.
okay.
Every so often I have them.
Okay.
Once a month. I
Do you guys have questions for us, concerns for us?
Well, I just have one request. The marketing subcommittee, we will ask them, Dan and I spoke last week, we will ask them to create a one-page similar to what we've done in the past, the school committee for the budget. And if we present it to you, could you please reach out to your liaisons, your friends groups in every school, just so you can get out there and do what you can do to get the word out there with the groups you deal with. So hopefully within the next 2 weeks or so.
All right, that's something you're going to send to me,
Yes?
to Eric?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much. I appreciate all the work you're doing for the past 20 years. They have been. Okay. All right, I've lost my place. Okay, yep, no, we did, okay, so this is the regional agreement discussion, is really just kind of tacking this right on to whether we're willing to have Mark Terry do some more work. I brought this up, I think, I just mentioned it at our last meeting, but I put it here officially for a vote, which is, as you know, we've been working on the regional agreement for a long time, and we hit some stumbling blocks, but I did speak with Sean Farrell from the Hamilton Select Board, and he and I had a conversation just about, getting the legal counsels together, the town, so the KP Law is the same legal counsel for both towns, and then And then we have our legal counsel, and the request was that they could get together and just redline the document, basically the whole document, what things no longer match Mass General Law, what things, there's lots of things, what things, we have gendered language, we have just outdated language, we have things about, things that you're posting things in our local newspaper, we have, things like that. So I guess I'm asking the committee whether we're willing to task Mark Terry with doing that work, which is getting us a really thoroughly redlined document.
Yes.
All right, so I guess we need a motion. Sorry, Amy.
I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee approve legal counsel to review the regional agreement.
Second.
Second by Jen Carr. Is there further discussion? Okay. All those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous, and the motion passes of the 5 members present. Thank you all. Okay, so next up is actually under new business, letter E, vote the MASC delegate. The MASC conference is November 2nd through the 4th, or maybe the 5th. I signed up to go to the conference. As far as I know, I don't think anybody else has signed up. Is that correct? I'm going to take that as a yes.
No, I have not signed up.
What was that?
I have not signed up, no.
So if you are looking at your calendars, you'll see that that conference puts us at a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have a school committee meeting on Thursday evening. The conference was, I went last year, it was incredibly helpful. I really got a lot out of it. My intent this year, I think, is to just attend Wednesday and possibly Thursday morning and then arrive back here for the school committee meeting. So I'm just putting that out there. At that conference, for those of you who are new or don't remember, the MASC will present resolutions, which we'll get ahead of time, and I don't have before you this evening. And each committee can send a delegate to vote on those resolutions. So we would vote on a delegate who can vote. This committee would instruct that delegate how to vote. So that's that. The vote, so the reason I told you all the timing there is that the vote is on Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022, which is the first day of the conference. So
Where
we
is-
need to select a delegate.
Where is the conference physically? Where is
In
it?
Hyannis on the Cape.
Hyannis. So you are attending?
I'm going to attend.
You would be a really good candidate to be the delegate.
I am making no statements about who on the committee would be a good candidate for
I
this
think you would be.
position.
Yes. I guess should I make a motion?
Somebody should make a motion.
All right, I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee appoint Dana Alara to be our delegate for the MASC convention.
Second.
Conference.
All right.
I'm like, I don't think I'm here.
Second by Anna Seizik. Is there further discussion?
Thank you, Dana.
Oh, wait, we have to vote. We have to vote, and don't worry, we have to
For
appoint an
accepting it.
alternate.
For agreeing to.
All right, all those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous of the 5 members present, and the motion passes. I have a form that we have to fill out, and it is recommended that we have an alternate voting delegate in the event that the delegate cannot attend. Does anyone have a motion as to who that person might be?
Is the vote in the morning or the afternoon?
I don't think that I know. It just says during the conference on Wednesday, November 2nd.
Yeah, I
Can't.
could do afternoon, but I can't do morning.
Same.
I can't do. I'm coaching Wednesdays. I'm working all day, but coaching.
I'm running a virtual summit.
Nothing that says that the delegate has to be in the room.
Oh, they have to be in the room.
Do they have to?
No, I mean now.
Oh, they can be virtual?
That's savage. No, she means we could appoint one of the Davids.
Do they have to be physically at the MASC?
You know what, I do not know, but I believe so because I was there last year and we were present, physically present for the vote, so I think yes. And if, I mean, I would think if they were last year, then I can't imagine that we would, yeah.
That's a tough one.
I just can't. I can't physically get my body down there and back.
So let me put it this way, though. So imagine the scenario, which is that I, as a voting delegate, am unable to come. Seems wise to me for us to have at least made an attempt to put someone in as the alternate, even if it turns out that that person is also unable to come, right? Like, it's better for us, gives us a better chance if we put somebody in there.
What time is the vote?
I don't know,
It's
unfortunately.
afternoon?
I don't know.
Morning.
It just says during the joint conference on Wednesday, November 2nd.
Is there an agenda posted?
These are, no, well,
I have to point out the irony of the MASC not having a
well,
posted
and now I
agenda.
feel badly that maybe I'm the one that doesn't actually know. I just printed this out. It did not occur to me that.
I'll be the person. Because if
I'll go. I'm going to go.
I know you're gonna go. I know you're gonna go. Worst case, I'll be at a hotel running my virtual summit at a hotel.
All right, hold on, let me see.
I'll go in
There-
and vote quickly and then I'll go.
Yeah, I mean,
It's okay, I can do it. I
yeah,
can do
like
it.
all the things are listed, but the times are not listed.
It's
Like
fine.
all the things are
It's
listed.
fine. I know
Okay.
you're
All right,
gonna
before she
go.
changes her mind, does anyone have a
I know you're
motion?
gonna- I know you're gonna go.
I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee elect Julia Campbell to be the stand-in delegate in the case that Dana Alara cannot attend.
Second.
Second by Anna Seizik. Is there further discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor? All right, and that is unanimous, and the motion passes. All right, so I have to fill out this form. All right, but it looks like I'm the only one that has to sign it, so, okay. Thank you all.
Don't go near anyone. Get that booster.
I'm double boosting. All right, and I'm not actually sure when I get the resolutions. We don't have them, right? I didn't miss
Not yet.
that. I don't
Not
think so.
yet. Nope.
That will be a separate thing for you
Still
all
early.
to, yeah.
Yeah, it's only September 8th.
Okay. All right, I think we moved on to the superintendent's report.
Okey-doke. I spent the first few days rotating through the schools and checking up on things and checking in with kids and checking in with adults. I think our opening meeting with adults was a hit. I think people really felt like, yeah, let's go, let's try to move this. I tried to really point the district in the direction of moving forward, getting focused on the work, staying, keeping equity at the center of the work that we're doing this school year. So that was kind of the theme for the opening, which really worked. A lot of interesting conversations from teachers after, like, okay, I'm ready to go, let's go. So I think people are in a very different state than they have been for the past couple of years. Overall, smooth start. We are still wrestling with busing issues. Salter has transitioned to an online software that's supposed to make their routes more efficient, except they didn't know how to use it, I think, very well. So they're learning along the way here. At the same time, they actually hired someone who was a tech person from another school district to come in and help them to figure it out. So Jen Caulfield, Tom Geary have spent far too many hours going through every single stop and every single piece of the list to make sure that kids aren't on the bus too long, kids aren't, getting picked up on the wrong side of the road. And many of the stops that were originally scheduled had, first kindergarten and first graders crossing the street, which is we don't allow. And so we're sorting through those and continuing to wrestle with that. We have a meeting with them Monday. Honestly, we need to draw some lines specifically and probably have a conversation about the contract that we have, that, the work that is not being done to prepare to get our kids in school, get them on time, and to really follow what we're expecting them to do. So that's the one hiccup we've been constant. It's been constant. Jen spent the 4-day weekend, I think, 3 out of the 4 days wrestling with routes and updates and things like that. So that's the one issue we're stuck with right now that is hard because we don't manage it. We basically say, here's all the kids, and here are all the where they live, and they should load it into the software and start their routes. But what we're finding is, even though they gave a route to a bus driver, the bus driver decided, I don't want to follow that route, I'm going to do the old one. So kids would get missed, and so we're still trying to iron those interesting pieces and parts of the puzzle out. But have had a lot of success, but just spending far too much time on it. We're spending a lot of time on it. Strategic planning. Invitations have gone out for focus groups. This committee is scheduled for focus group next Thursday, remember, 6:30 at the high school. We'll be joined by any municipal person who would like to join. I have sent invitations to FinCom, select boards, town manager, town administrator, and said to spread the word if any elected official that would like to attend, reminding them that it's an open meeting and they're going to have to advertise that as such if they send more than their quorum. So those are all gone out. I hope they come. If you know of any, local municipal elected officials, please encourage them to come and spend an hour and a half with us. It's 90 minutes. It's pretty controlled. TLA will be doing the focus group at the high school in the library. So just we're trying to just get people there. We're sending invitations out as well to parents. It's gone out in my weekly. We've done individual invites to specific people within the school district, like the teachers group, sign up. So we have not only encouraging people to go to the focus groups, we're starting to build our committee as well, which will be a 20-member committee. So I will need one or two, it doesn't have to be two, one or two school committee members to be part of that strategic planning committee, and that's at the request of TLA, our partner in this endeavor. Outside of that, the strategic planning process, as you know, will go all the way through December. We'll do the 5 focus groups. We'll do 5 meetings of the strategic planning committee, and then we'll build towards a draft for the December 15th, I believe, meeting. So, other things: school open houses next week. There's a bunch of them. We had an ice cream social at the middle school the other night. Next week we have the Winthrop on Monday, the middle school on Tuesday, the high school on Wednesday, all with their open house or curriculum nights, depending on where you're going. So that's exciting time. Parents coming in. This is really the first kind of like normalcy we've had. Like school year starting, everybody's in. We're inviting parents and families in to events and things like that, and they've been very well attended. Even I went to the preschool open house and went to the first day of kindergarten, and packed. People are just boom coming in and really exciting. We do have another bump in numbers at the elementary level, so we will actually show a significant increase in students. Even though we lost a chunk of students from the middle high school transition, we're going to show an increase overall of students for the first time in a number of years. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll report that after October 1. Once we submit to the state and get our final numbers, we'll bring a report here and put the final numbers out there. But right now, they're looking good. And then the NEASC accreditation report is finally in Brian Menegoni's hand as a draft. He's going to meet with Gary Maestas, who is the chair of the committee. They will go through the draft to make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary in it, then finalize it, and my intention is to have a copy in front of this committee on the next agenda, so that we can put it out there. No surprises, from what I can tell. It sounds like all the same things that Gary spoke of when the committee was here. He basically outlined, these are the deficiencies. One of the things that I've asked Brian to discuss with Gary is that we were, at that time, set as not meeting the standard for having a portrait of the graduate. So I've asked Brian to talk to Gary, and remind him that we have finished the process, we do have it, and see where they want to go from there. So that's it. Athletics has started. All of those events have started. Games. We've started with a whole slew of games away. So next week I think is a big week for home games. So that's fun. It's great to see kids involved and activities going on, and the play is, they just did their first round of auditions for the play coming up, Freaky Friday, and then it's just a lot of fun. Like all those usual school things are happening, and it's a great energy. You go into the buildings, you have fantastic energy. You go into the classrooms. I don't know how many classrooms I was in the past few days, but great to watch teachers interacting. Just even with our newbies, like just got pulled right in, and you know the other teachers are taking great care of them, and it's nice. I mean, we're really fortunate to have strong cultures in our schools, and you know good opportunities, and the people that we have brought in, the new people we've brought in are so far exceptional. We've seen some real people just take off and go, so that's nice when you're replacing 3 or 4 elementary teachers in one building. You know, so all in all, it's a good start to the year.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for the superintendent? Okay.
Oh, I just want to say, neither of my children have had problems with the buses.
Excellent.
So there are 2 routes that are going well, I guess. I have heard other things, but
Yeah.
it's been going great for us, so.
And we found we're one of the few school systems that actually irons out the issues. The other school systems just
We're
give
just
the
like,
parents
"Eh,
the
too
phone number
bad."
to Salter and let
Right.
them deal with it.
Oh, geez.
That's,
It's just, I just think it's important for us to try to help our families iron that out. They have a lot to deal with, but, yeah, we're probably the only, even Salter tells us that, like, you're the only people that are worried about this stuff. It's like, of course we are, and we're going to continue to be, so,
that's,
it's, it's a fascinating venture.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Great. All right. All right, moving on. Capital Finance?
Meeting next week.
Next week,
That's the 19th, right? Yeah, 19th?
The Monday.
Monday the
Yeah,
19th.
Monday, 19th, okay.
The 19th, I thought it was 6.
Am I right? I think it was,
Yep,
yeah, it's the 19th.
It's the 19th.
4
Yep.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Because then we have
Monday the
policy
19th.
that night.
Yes. No.
All right, policy?
We're also meeting on the 19th, but Eric, are you able to attend both meetings?
I'll be there.
Wow.
I'll be
2
there.
computers.
Different sides, or? Okay. Yeah, we're also meeting on the 19th, and we will start with these policies. I will say, policy's going to have some stuff at some point soon, those A section things, I think we finally have wrestled to the ground,
Yes.
so, yeah, policy is cooking through the D section. It's very exciting.
All right. Negotiations? David is our new chair. He's not here. I don't think we have anything.
Nothing.
Okay. All right, Chair's report, I just wanted to, and Eric touched on this a little bit, but I was fortunate enough to get to attend the opening day for staff, and it was really the energy. I know Eric mentioned it, but it was really a good energy in that room. It was really exciting, and I wanted to, it felt great to be there, and I just wanted to call Eliza Bassam out, who is our student body president, right? Student body or senior class president?
senior class president, yep.
Senior class president. She was the only student in the room. She had to get up and speak in front of the entire staff, as did I. I was very nervous. She was calm and clear and confident, and I just want to say, like, I was so proud that this person was representing the education that she received here in this district. And it was, so I was really impressed, and I think everyone in the room was really impressed.
She got a
So,
standing ovation.
Yeah.
That's
it was,
awesome.
and it just really did speak to me about that, and that's sort of what she spoke about the education that she's received here in the district. So that was powerful stuff. So I'm excited for the year, and that really started things off really well. So I think everything else that I wanted to cover, I've covered in all the things that I've talked about. All right, do you think I've missed anything, Eric? Okay.
The only one thing I would add is we will have a student reps scheduled for next meeting?
Yeah, I actually, because I sat next to Eliza at that meeting, and she sort of indicated that that it was going to be restructured a little bit, that we were going to, maybe, they were going to meet.
Do a little rotation.
A little
and give
rotation.
everybody
Um, Yeah, so, and that, you think that's going to be next meeting, we'll have one of them?
My plan was to have Eliza start
Yep.
at the next meeting, and then we'll go from there. And basically, class presidents, like, then we'd have the junior class president.
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity for them all to be able to see the process. and get involved,
Absolutely.
so.
Yeah. Okay. Topics for future meetings, anybody? Okay.
Can we put town meeting on the next agenda?
October 1st.
So, yes, are we, do you anticipate that we would be looking for what we've looked for in the past, which is that sort of a one-page talking points? Is that what you're talking about? Or just discussing?
We really should put the word out there. I think it's also, I think everybody received it here. I sent it out Sunday just to get the ball rolling, to say, hey, here's what's happening, because in both communities, I don't know that there are any other articles on the warrant other than school articles, and there is a little bit of concern about attendance, because the Wenham number is 120. They need 120 people to have a quorum, whereas Hamilton, according to Joe, he told me today that 70 is their number. So we're just trying to get the word out, but also help people to understand, like, this is why we're doing. So that was the reasoning for the document that I sent out Sunday, just to kind of explain. I tried to simplify it, but now I need to break that down even more simplistic and get that out and just keep pushing that out. So I think maybe if we put on next agenda, I can do an overview that at least can be on YouTube. If somebody's watching, they'll be able to get the information. I would just use the information that I'm sending out, nothing much more than that.
I think that would be a useful thing to have, and I, you know, I think in the past, we've done, to create a physical one-page, I don't know if we want to talk about that at the next meeting, too. I'm looking at you, graphic designer people.
Yeah, I can make it. That's fine.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to, because I agree. I feel like people don't understand, and if we're going to push both attendance and support, it would be helpful to have some marketing tools for us to push out.
I mean, and Eric I do think, you know, that the communication that you put out does go through it clearly, and it's complicated, so we need to, you know, to get, okay, so yeah, we'll put that on the next agenda. Okay,
I just had my preview to the budget calendar
okay,
this time.
great. Just that'll be, yeah, okay.
That'll be the whole year.
Yep, the whole, okay. Great.
I like that you sent a standalone email, because I think it really drew attention to the topic. It's important to put in an update, but I like that you did do a standalone email.
People responded to it as
Yeah.
well. I got a lot of emails of, "Hey, what do we do?"
And-
You know, so I think
I'm not sure, Jen, have you put it on social media? But I love having the updates in the email version on the district Facebook page in a place that's easier to push out.
I love that.
yeah, we'll keep pushing it, and if we can come up with a graphic, that'll be great,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I can work.
I'll add a topic that maybe is going to come up as part of the field improvement project or summer part, but I think Amy's point about branding and some sense of guidelines, I think is going to be important as they approach donors, to have a sense of what may or may not be, you know, more than colors and fonts. But I think it would be good for us to at least have a conversation about what that means to us as a community. And this isn't exactly the thing I want to talk about, but I think as part of that, there needs to be a conversation about that cartoon logo, if that's going to be part of the new look or not part of the new look. Because I could see some people wanting it and some people not. And we've talked about it a bit before.
Yep.
And to me, that's part of our branding, because that's a very distinctive look that is very different than the 4 Stars look. And I mean, I think we need to figure out what we want to be there.
Right, and yeah, we have to think about how we want to, right, like, is it branding, is it standardization, is it, you know?
I would call it branding, and I think it can, typically now branding, we talk about language, and it's more than just, to your point, like colors and fonts and images. I have a question around branding. Would it be appropriate for me to take on branding? Would we want to get someone else to do it?
I think we'll have to really be, I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
I think we have to think about where and when we put that on an agenda and how we discuss it.
That's kind of your background, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you and
He
I
teaches
can
it.
kind of formulate,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you're okay with it, maybe you and I can formulate basically the draft direction
Yeah.
that we can use as a discussion format here.
I don't think it has to be overly complex. I
Right.
think just having that on paper so that when we're making decisions, we can say, this is what we chose.
And all the websites would look alike, and all the social media, and everything would be very consistent.
Well, and typically a style guide is a
style
template that
guide,
other people can use. And so perhaps if we could come up with some of that, I think it would be helpful to the Athletic Field Improvement Committee as well, because if they have their own marketing group, I just think it's important. You can assume that things will look similar, but then if they don't, I just want it to be clear. I just think it's an important thing to talk about, and I do agree a trained designer could put together a style guide for review and discussion pretty easily, and it could be Amy, or it could be someone else, or, it's,
We do have a basic style guide specific to the logos and the letterheads and things like that. There is a standardized one. It was standardized maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago,
okay.
when Alan Topia first came on. So we could use that as a baseline.
Yep.
But I think there's more to it that we need to really look at, how things get presented, et cetera.
Okay,
Yes.
right. All right, does anybody have anything else?
I move we adjourn at 8:17, nearly 1 hour early. I noticed.
Wow. Second.
Second by Julia Campbell.
What to say?
I don't know what to say.
All right, and is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, and the motion passes 5-0, and we are adjourned. I'm going to do this.